Installing Snort on Ubuntu Part 2. Creating custom Snort rules. Not all organizations have the same policy, so their IDS configurations will certainly be different. Creating custom Snort rules allow for those differences. Okay, and creating Snort rules. The general rule is it's written in one line, and the rule set usually has action, protocol, source IP, source port, direction, destination IP, destination port, and the options. Let's look at the sample rule. This is basically an alert rule. It will, for a protocol to TCP, any, that means from any IP address, any port, going to any destination IP or any port, with the content of www.facebook.com and the message of someone is accessing Facebook, and this is the security identifier. It has to be I choose 1,000,001. Some of the lower SID are reserved, so I decided against this, but this basically I just created this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and create a custom Snort rule. So we're going to go ahead and open up our VM. It needs my password. So this is where we left off earlier. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and navigate to the directory where all the Snort rules are located. So we know I've created this directory, snort.rules. And if you do an ls, you'll see all the rules that are currently there, and we got that from the Snort rules data set. And so what we're going to do is create a file name it whatever you want using the editor of your choice. So what we can do is sudo pico's my editor of choice. It's the easiest one for me. Let's see. I'm not going to name this czz alert dot rules. I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to ask me for my sudo password, and I'm here. So here we can start typing in our rules. I'm going to type in a couple of alert rules. Alert TCP any. Direction is going to be to this network, to any. And then content. You have to create a semicolon there and a colon here for your message. The quotes. Facebook. SID 100. Semicolon. And we'll do another one. Alert ICMP. So basically ICMP is a ping. And I'm going to type in an IP address, 192.168.80.135. Basically, any pings from this IP address, and I have a virtual machine also, another virtual machine with that IP address that I'm going to be bringing up a little later. Any. So that means from, like a ping to anywhere, specifically in our network here. Message getting pings from 928. Let's do this so that will stand out. SID. Colon 1004. Now, so we've created these two rules. We'll go ahead and hit the Control X, save modified. Okay, yes. And we're going to name that the ZZZ alert rules. Go ahead and confirm. And there you go. We created that rule, ZZZ alert rules, and it's in this directory, etc snort.rules. So that's a rule, that's an alert rule that I configured. I'm going to go ahead and create another rule. I'm going to create a log rule. So basically, we do the same thing, sudo pico and whatever, zzz log.rules. So we have this file. And we're going to create a rule that would log any FTP information from a certain IP address. For example, so log TCP 192.168.80.139 any to any 21. That's the port for FTP. So basically that's what I'm saying is that if a machine with an IP address of 192.168.80.139 on any port goes to any machine and tries to access the destination port of 21, which is for FTP, let's log it. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and create this. And so let's confirm. And so we have the CCZ log rules and CCZ alert rules. The next step is to edit the configuration files. Remember the configuration files that we had earlier? We're going to go ahead and edit that to reflect the addition of these two rules. So what we're going to do is sudo etc snort.conf. Oops, I forgot the pico command. That's my editor. Okay, so now we're here. So we're going to go drill down to the rules area. All the way, all the way. And I'm just going to add something. The pound sign means don't run this, the comment line. So include custom rules created for demo purposes. So we basically include rule underscore path. It's going to be CCZ alert rules include path CCC log.rules. Once that's done, you can go ahead and Control X, use modify, and hit that. And so that modified our snort.conf. So as you can see, it's relatively simple to create rules. You just have to remember that since this is an IDS and not an IPS, we can't create any kind of rules that would sort of that would be along the veins of a protection system. We can't create rules that would say drop or reject or block. We can only create rules that are basically alert and log rules because that's what an IDS is. It's basically a monitoring system, not necessarily a prevention system. So I'm going to go ahead and let me see, show you how we can run Snort and look a few of the results there. Okay. So to make it easier on myself, I'm going to go ahead and I'm back to the home directory. I'm going to go ahead and log in as root. So the sudo -i gives you root privileges. So now I'm root. I don't suggest this, but well, actually, not just but a lot of people don't suggest logging in as root, but it makes things easier for demo purposes. So Snort can run in a lot of different modes. One is the Sniffer mode, Snort minus VDE. So basically this means it's going to pick up all the headers. It's going to pick up the data link layer headers. It's going to pick up the packet data and the packet headers. So if I do this, and it's gonna pipe it out to the console. Okay, it's on the, go ahead, Snort's processing, commenting processing. I'm not doing anything, but you know, machine's always doing something. So you can see we're already sniffing things. This is all the information on this machine. FE80 is picking up like the IPv6 addresses and stuff like those. So I was just gonna keep continuing picking things up, and it's just going to be on screen. It doesn't really do much. It'll just sniff out the traffic that's happening on the network. So we'll go ahead and Control C this out. So that's, we're going to be exiting. These are like some of the statistics. IP6 extension, it received and analyzed packet totals. So that's just on a sniffer mode, the output was logged onto the screen. In packet logger mode, the output is logged into a file that is located in your Snort directory, like your log files directory. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. So I'm going to go Snort minus VDE minus L, that means to log, var log Snort, and it's going to get written in ASCII. Before I show you this, let's go ahead and go to that log directory and see what kind of log files that we have there. cd var log snort ls. So there's really no files there. So we're going to go ahead and snort vde. Okay, where's the sl var log snort minus k ASCII. Pause the video for a little while, and while I bring up all my other virtual machines. So we have this virtual machine, Windows Server 2008. We also have a virtual machine of Windows XP, and we are going back to our Ubuntu machine. So we're going to go ahead and run this in packet logger mode, and basically the packets are going to be logged into this directory file. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. It's commencing packet processing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go back to my FTP machine, no, sorry, my Windows XP machine, and I'm going to go ahead and run FTP to that my FTP server. That's the, before I do that, let me show you the IP address of this machine. So this IP address of this machine is 192.168.80.139. I'm going to go ahead and FTP into this FTP server. So I'm here. So I'm going to go ahead and say username is FTP user. Password, I'm going to type it in. I'm logged in. So I can see that there is a test.txt file on that server. So I'm going to go ahead and get that test.txt file. And I'm going to go ahead and exit. So then I'm going to go back to my virtual machine. Oops. To my Ubuntu virtual machine. I'm going to go ahead and hit, it doesn't show up on the screen, so I'm going to go ahead and hit C and check out. Okay, so it picked up some packets right there. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Remember that I'm already in the log directory, so I'm going to do an ls. And you can see that it created all these logs. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this 192.168.80.139 directory. cd 192.139. See what kind of log files. So we have a few files there. So we can open those files up with tcp : 1035.21 to see we can. Oh, it should be cat. Yeah, it's case specific, so it's going to be cat. You can see these are the headers for that file. And if we look at the other files, TCP, and again, headers from that file. So we can see that this is logging it too. Let's look at the other. So which is the 192.168.80.138. See whether or not it's the same thing. And it picked up all those UDP files. So going back to that, so you can see that this is I did a cat for the UDP 138 files, and we can see some more informations here. If you wait long enough, I should have waited also. You can have picked up the username and password that I've entered into that FTP console. So that's the packet logger mode. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this. Now we can start running Snort in with the configuration files. So go ahead and do that. I'm just going to go ahead and clear that up a little bit. So to start running it is snort -a console -i eth 0. Oops. Now, before I do this, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clear all the log files in those directories. So cd var log snort list. Oops. Let me see. It's list. So I'm going to go ahead and remove all of this file. 138. 139. The -r is it's basically recursive. That means remove all the files and directories under that directory. So let's look at the log files again. So there's nothing. That's packet non-IP, which is negligible. So I'm not going to worry about that. So now we'll go ahead and run Snort using the what do you call this? The configuration file. Snort -a console -i eth 0, since we only have one, minus configuration file is dc snort.conf -l var log snort -k ASCII. And let me go ahead and show you this. Okay, so we've done the creating snort rules. That's the snort VDE. It tells Snort to show the packet data and its headers. And then this snort minus a console minus I eth 0 minus c, the configuration file minus l, and that's the log directory, and then what kind of output. It's based the a minus consoles means that the message will show up on screen as well. The -i eth0 specifies the interface Snort is listening on, and we only have one interface, which is eth0 for us. -c it specifies the configuration file you're running. This would include the custom Snort rules that were added earlier. The -l varlog Snort specifies the directory where the logs will be located. And the -k ASCII specifies how the log files will be written. ASCII can easily be opened up by a text editor or by the command cat. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and do that and open up Ubuntu. And we're going to go ahead and run this. Okay. So it's, oops, port value missing in the rule. So that tells me there's something wrong with my configuration rules. So let's go ahead and see that rule to see whether or not I missed something out. Sudo pico. It's a good practice. Snort rules ccz alert dot rules. Port value is missing in a rule. Okay. Port value. Ah, there it is. See, in this rule, I am missing the any port. So I'm going to go ahead and Control X and Control yes and enter. I'm going to go ahead and run that Snort console again. And it's going to illegal direction specifier. So that's the log rule. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and check that out. It's missing. Okay. Control X. Control S. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, now it's better. So I'm gonna wait until it says that commencing packet processing. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and go back to my Windows XP machine. Okay, and let's open up an Internet Explorer. Facebook.com, and I need to open up a machine that has a .135 address, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Hold on. So now we have this machine, this Kali machine that I've had earlier. Open up ipconfig. If you remember our rules, ifconfig, that's a 135. If you remember our rules, the ping is basically from this IP address. It says that if we get a ping from this IP address, to log that. I'm going to show you the difference. So I'm going to go ahead and ping 192.168.80.139. So it's pinging, right? And let's go back to our Ubuntu machine. So look, we can see that it's getting a ping from that, and we saw this packet, someone is accessing Facebook, and that was from 139, that was the XP machine, and the ping is 135. It's pinging to 135, pinging 139. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that Kali machine again. And I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to stop it. So if I go back to that XP machine, and I can show you, let me show, that's the XP machine. I'm going to close out this Facebook. And this, if I ping 192.168, oops, 168.80.139, it should not show up because it's not part of the rules. Let's go back to my Ubuntu machine. So we basically, so it stopped right there. The 135 is pinging. I'm going to go ahead and ping from my Ubuntu machine, from my XP machine. Let's go back to my XP machine, and I'm going to ping this IP address. So let's ping that. It pinged that, but we'll go ahead and go to our Ubuntu machine. But it never showed up. It never showed up from that IP address. It's never showed up from 139 to 138 or whatever we've specified. What did we specify? Yeah, 139. Oh, it's pinging itself. So let me go ahead and do that. Or 138 or something. So it does not show up. So that ping doesn't show up at all. Doesn't show up pinging that IP that 139. So next thing we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and FTP again. So let's FTP, go back to my Windows X machine. So remember, we're going to go ahead and FTP to 192.168.380.138. Before we do that, let's go ahead and show you. Open up another command prompt, terminal. Let's take this another terminal. Let's look at those log files right now. etc for .log. So far we have these directories. So if we do a cd 35, let me see. I'm gonna log in as sudo -i. Okay, cd for log snort ls cd 2. So basically you have your pings. That was the ping that was happening. Okay, 139 ls. And this is some TCP and port 8080. That's the Facebook. So it hasn't showed up the FTP information yet. So now we're going to go back and go to our XP machine. So we're going to FTP user. What's the user logged in list. So get test.txt file, which is fine. We can get it again. You know, we took it earlier. ls. Okay. So that should be enough time to get our rule set. I'll go ahead and go back to our Ubuntu and go ahead and look at those log files again. Okay, let's clear this up a bit. So listen and see, look at here, that FTP information came in. So if we do a cat TCP, we're basically just gonna get the headers for this because we're not doing it in, we didn't do the -VDE option, which picks up everything. Dot. And here, the headers for the FTP. So basically it says that this 139 going to 131 or 138 port 21, which is what I've specified on those Snort rules. And as you can see, I mean, you can do a lot of different things with Snort. If you look at some of the possible options that you can have, Snort space --h gives you all the options that you can use with Snort. You can log directory, log to TCP dump styles, be verbose, show version number and everything. And you can actually configure it to run in inline mode. That basically means that you can do, for example, if some malicious activity came in from a certain IP address or a certain network, like a port scan or something, you can choose to drop it or do anything you want with it. But you are going to need an internet interface before you can enable that. And that concludes our Snort install on Ubuntu 14.04 LTS operating system. Hope this has been informative for you. Thanks a lot.